You don't know my name, but I was there. Not in the spotlight. Not in the posters or newspaper clippings that lined the Philly gyms after Balboa made his mark. But in the sweat-slicked mornings and the blood-specked afternoons, when Rocky trained like a man trying to outrun something hungrier than poverty. I was there. I was the sparring partner. Name's Leo Stitch Marino. South Philly born, same streets, same scrapes. I was a decent fighter once. Quick jab, smarter than I looked. Broke a few jaws and dreams in the featherweight circuits before a busted shoulder ended all that. But a fighter's gotta eat, even after the crowd stopped cheering. So I stayed near the ring. Became a name that trainers passed around when they needed someone tough enough to take hits, fast enough to land a few, but smart enough not to ruin the star. That's how I ended up with Rocky. This was before Apollo Creed, before the statue, before the city lifted him up like he was Philly's own Statue of Liberty. Back when he was still a palooka slugging for rent money and his gym smelled like defeat and mildew. I remember the first time we touched gloves. Mickey barked at me. "Don't let him get comfortable, Marino." Rocky smiled. Just a small thing, crooked, like he knew something the rest of us didn't. We went 3 rounds, light at first. By the second, he hit harder. Not fast, not pretty, but heavy. Like every punch carried the weight of all the doors that had slammed in his face. I tagged him once, square on the cheek. His head snapped. I expected a pause, maybe a curse. But he grinned, nodded, and came at me twice as hard. That's when I knew. This guy wasn't just training. He was clawing towards something. Our sessions became daily, early mornings. The gym still echoing with yesterday's ghosts. He'd stretch those thick arms, bounce on the balls of his feet, and we'd dance. Jab, duck, clinch, breathe, repeat. Some days we didn't talk at all. Others he'd mutter about Adrian. About Paulie's drinking, about how he wasn't supposed to be anything, not really. "You ever feel like the world made a bet you'd lose?" he asked once. Towel draped over his neck, face swollen. "Every day," I said, "but I cheat." He laughed at that. One of those belly laughs that shakes the dust from the rafters. Rocky didn't laugh much, but when he did, it felt like you'd won something. People think his training was a montage. A few minutes of jump rope, meat punches, and running upstairs. But it wasn't. It was pain. Over and over. Bruised ribs. Sprained wrist. Ice baths and bleeding knuckles. And I was there through it all, absorbing his fury, feeding his fire. One time, just days before the Creed fight, he caught me clean in the temple. Dropped me. Everything went white. When I blinked back, he was crouched over me, panic in his eyes. "You okay?" he asked, voice raw. "I will be," I groaned, laughing at the same time. He helped me up, and that moment, sweaty, half-conscious, 2 nobodies in a gym that reeked of ammonia and dream fragments, that moment is mine, not his. Mine. I didn't go to the fight. Watched it in a smoky bar with 6 other guys, all shouting at the screen like their hopes were on the line. When Creed raised his gloves, we thought it was over. But Rocky stood up. Again. And again. I knew he would. I'd seen it every day in training. That was his gift. Not speed, not skill, but the refusal to stay down. He lost on points, but everyone knew he'd won something bigger. The next time I saw him, he had cameras chasing him, a wife on his arm, and a 1,000-yard stare that said he'd been somewhere the rest of us couldn't follow. We nodded. That was enough. He moved on. I stayed in Philly, kept working corners, teaching kids how to keep their chins tucked. My shoulder still aches when it rains. But every now and then when someone talks about Rocky Balboa, the fighter, the legend, I smile. Because long before he was all that, he was just a guy trying to hit something that hit back. And I was the one standing in front of him,